In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my visit to Yorkshire and Yorkshire Yarn Festival. Hi, I'm Roseanna from Moara Crochet, and in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you my little girly trip to York and our afternoon at the Yorkshire Yarn Festival. Now, first of all, this was my final weekend in the UK, and I met up with a very dear friend from Germany, and we had an absolutely gorgeous girls' weekend in York where we had food, we visited lots of craft shops, had a few drinks, did some knitting, did some crochet, and just had a really lovely ladies' weekend. So to start off, we arrived in York and there was no better place than to go to Betty's. Now, Betty's is a traditional English afternoon tea shop, and we had booked in for the afternoon tea experience. And on the day we arrived, it was the start of the Christmas menu. And Christmas is one of my all-time favorite seasons. It's very nostalgic, and it was really lovely because we were on a little table right next to this gorgeous, freshly decorated Christmas tree. And we whiled away the whole afternoon there with live music and the most gorgeous cakes and little tiny sandwiches and really, really good English tea. And that was in York, and it was so lovely. So that was our first experience in York, and it was really nice. And if you haven't been, I would highly recommend it. So I'll leave a link below. You can book in for the experience like we did, or you can queue up, and they have a coffee shop tea shop at the bottom, and it's really, really worth the visit. It's the most delicate, gorgeous cakes you can find in York. Really good tea and a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. On the Friday while we were there, I happened to see that York Art Gallery had an ongoing exhibition of William Morris. Now, I love William Morris. It's the botanical yarn print, the botanical plant prints that you find in England are very traditional. They go back hundreds of years, and they had a whole exhibition of William Morris wallpaper. So obviously I had to get there. So Saturday we got up early, we went down to the art gallery and got in before the crowd. And it was the most relaxing, inspiring hour for me. I love going to art galleries. I can get lost in designs and in prints, in paintings. It's one of my all-time favorite excursions to do. Anywhere I go, I always try and get into an art gallery, and this was amazing. Now, for me, I find that William Morris it's like a puzzle. You can see the whole image and it's beautiful, but if you actually stop and look, you can see little details which you can easily miss, such a little bird here, or a tiny strawberry, or even a field mouse, which can sometimes just be lost in such a busy wallpaper. And it was really interesting to see the development of wallpaper and how it had changed, and the designs. Now, I absolutely loved my time there, to the point that at one point I was staring at one of the wallpapers and I went, oh, I've got an idea. And this tends to happen with me with crochet. Something will just form and I have to stop everything, find a pen, find paper, and sit down and draw this design. Now, luckily, while we were there, they had a table filled with all the all paper and pencils, and actually some light boxes with some designs, and I believe I've got it in here. So I'm not going to show you the design I made because that's for a future thing. That can happen the next year and the next 2 years, but it's logged in the memory bank. And they had some light boxes, and we could do some little drawings of some of the elements from William Morris wallpapers. So that was a really nice little moment to have within the art gallery. And we spent a good half an hour looking around all the rest of the prints. And then, of course, as I left, I couldn't leave without one of the William Morris books. I love textile books. I have a lot of them. I always go back to them. It's not a book that I look at and I leave. I will repeatedly come back to my art books because I find them very, very inspirational for color combinations, for patterns, for symmetry. Now, I actually haven't had time to look through my art book yet because I want to savor it. I am going to wait for an afternoon where I am completely free, I have no work, and I can have a cup of tea, and I will look through this book many, many times, and I am sure I'm going to get lots of ideas for upcoming crochet patterns, crochet blankets, crochet bouquets from this book. So this is one of my special buys from York. Now, for those of you who have not been to York, York is a very old city in England, and it has the most beautiful architecture. You'll see a lot of Tudor buildings, you'll see a lot of limestone buildings, and all the streets are higgledy-piggledy. And if you don't know what that means, it means they're not straight, they curve off, there's lots of little bits, there's alleyways, and it was absolutely amazing. You can get lost, but you easily find your way back, but it's like a maze. And one of the things we did was we were walking down the street and I saw a tiny little sign. And I said, oh, let's go here. Look, it's a craft shop. And it was the most gorgeous craft shop. Now, I don't have the flyer with me right now. It got lost in the luggage. But it was so lovely to go into this craft shop, which had the most beautiful fabrics. It had yarn, it had fastenings, it had trims, everything you would need for craft. And it was wall to ceiling with old the old wooden bays to hold the fabric. And me and my friends spent a good 20 to 30 minutes lost in that shop. And I don't know how we left without buying anything. I think we planned to go back and then never found it again. This is York, it's easily to get lost. So those were our little excursions within York, and obviously we stopped for meals everywhere. We went down the Shambles, we had a few drinks, we went to the York gin shop and just enjoyed our moments. Then on the Saturday afternoon, we made our way up to the Yorkshire Yarn Festival, and this was not really in York. We had to get a bus from York Centre out to what was written, what was on the bus? I think it was Scarborough. And it was a good 20-25 minutes on the bus. And by this time it was dark and it was raining. And then we arrived at the event. So we got off at the bus stop and then we had to walk down to the golf course. And we arrived a bit too late, to be honest. We should have got there earlier. But on the other side, the event was really, really quiet. So we had like the whole event to ourselves because we arrived for the last hour. But we did manage to make a few buys. And the first place I stopped had the most gorgeous little granny square blockers. Now, this has been something that's been on my list for a long time, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make one. I've got wood side, I've bought all the drill bits, and it never happened. Life is too busy, and it just never happened. And then I saw this really cute little kit, and it was only £10. And when I'm blocking with my granny squares, I tend to be designing granny squares for you. So I'll only do one little one. I won't do a whole collection. So this worked out beautifully for me. And it comes with a little stand like this, which goes back slightly at an angle and comes with 6 steel rods. So I'm really looking forward to using this. I've actually brought some granny squares with me to show you. And it also came with a packet of tapestry needles, which was a bonus surprise. So I'm going to pop one on here for you now. I've got a few granny squares here from my collection. Patterns which never get written up. So I'm hoping this will be nice for the photography, obviously for blocking. Oh, this granny square is exactly the size. So that works quite nicely. Yeah, so this would be my new little blocker. So watch out, you're going to see this on a lot of photos. So this was my first buy in Yorkshire Yarn Festival. So we had a walk around all the stalls, and honestly, I went in there with a list because I'd seen so many people say, when you go to a yarn festival, you're going to be overwhelmed, you're going to want to buy everything. So I prepared myself because going to a yarn festival is not cheap. You're going to see a lot of indie yarns, and the minimum price you're going to pay is £20 to £30 per skein. So I needed to be very focused on what I needed, what I could fit in my suitcase, and what I loved. And I did actually go with a list. And one thing that was on my list, which I was 50-50 whether I was going to buy, because they are heavy and my luggage space was already very, very occupied. But I decided to buy anyway because it's something I can get in Brazil, but the prices are excruciatingly high. So I bought, which is I'm so happy about, from Costal Colours, a yarn winder. And I've wanted one of these for about 2-3 years, and I wanted one in wood. So I got this from Coastal Colours, and the guy was really, really helpful and showed me how to unpack it all and how to oil and how to put it all back together because he knew it was going in my suitcase. And I've already had a play around with this with me and my daughter, and we've made a few yarn cakes. They've come out quite well so far, although I think I need to oil it a bit more because it's still a little bit stiff. But I think I don't want to over oil to get oil everywhere, but I'm getting there. So this is a really, really special gift for me and for my office, and it's going to make my yarn winding much quicker and much easier because normally I will make yarn balls and they go everywhere. When I'm crocheting, they just like shoot halfway across the room. So this is going to help me do the center pull, and then my yarn hopefully stays in the same place and it's easier without having to follow the ball all around the room. One of the next yarn vendors I met was somebody I've been wanting to meet. And this is a company, I watch their videos every single month, and it's called Botanical Yarns. And I was so lucky, and I met both Fiona and Sophie, and I went a bit soppy and said, can I give you a hug? Because I watch all their videos. And their stall is pink. And I don't like pink, but the tones that Sophie creates appeal more to me than any other vendor. And I bought some of her sock yarn in this rose, like antique rose flecked colour for some socks. So these were going to be turned into socks next year. And I also had a lovely, they're really squishy. I also had a really lovely talk with Sophie, and we're going to be teaming up to do a special project which will be coming out in the next few weeks for you. And Sophie very kindly gifted me one of her In My Crochet Era botanical bags, which is lovely. So my project is in here. It's a really good size. It sits on my table while I'm working, and inside here I can show you the yarn. I'm not showing you the project but inside here, one's just unraveled, I have got a few mini skein kits. So this is one of them I've not used yet, and this is the Flock Fibre Fest mini skein kit, and it's got 5 mini skeins in there, all 4-ply yarn, and also a main skein of, I think this is pampas grass. So I have got a few of these kits, and I am working on something very special to share with you in the next few weeks in time for Christmas, which is going to be shared between both me and Botanical Yarns. So this is an ongoing project, so stick with me. Hit the subscribe button if you want to get the free pattern and get the free videos. So that was my visit to Botanical Yarns. It was so lovely to meet Sophie and Fiona, and we had a lovely laugh. And in the evening, there was a crochet workshop with Meema Makes. Now, Meema Makes is another YouTuber, and she does the most beautiful crochet blankets and crochet tutorials for beginner crochet. So if you want to learn step by step on some really beautiful traditional crochet techniques such as granny squares or granny blankets, ripple blankets, she has a beautiful sunflower blanket, head over to Meema Makes. I'm going to leave a link down below, and from there you can also access her YouTube videos, and she does step-by-step YouTube tutorials like myself, but more beginner orientated. And Meema is a really, really, really lovely lady, and that evening she brought all her blankets and we could all see her work. We had a really nice chat and talked about YouTube and being a small business, but also being a crochet designer. And it was really nice to connect one-on-one with another person in the same field as I am. So if you're watching this, this is a shout out to you, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. The last thing I bought is I bought some yarn, surprise, surprise, from a lady called Lotti Yarns. And Lotti specializes in really vibrant, intense, rich colors, and her yarn stood out compared to everyone else. There was a lot of people with brights or with pastels, but for me, I love rich, rich, dark colors. Those colors that seem to shimmer and have a few different tones within them. And when I saw this merino yak and silk yarn, I really had to get some. And I got 2 skeins of this yarn. I'm not sure what the brand is called now, the name for it, but it is a mix between merino yak and silk. It has the most gorgeous, gorgeous texture. It's very soft, but also with a slight halo. And I got the cinnamon color, and it's got like tiny flecks of black, so it has depth within the yarn. And this yarn was already destined for a project because I went in mind with yarn that I needed. So like I said, I knew what I needed and what I wanted, so I had to stay within budget. So I bought 2 balls or 2 skeins of this yarn to make the homunculus sweater. Now this is a sweater that's gone viral all over the world, and I decided, okay, I want to try this, but I want to make a summer version. And I had seen that a lady called Knit With Me UK had made this top in a summer version in this gorgeous golden yellow. And unfortunately, Lotti had already sold out of her yellow, but then I saw this cinnamon version and thought, that's the one for me. And as soon as I got home and got over my jet lag, I thought, I'm going to start this jumper because I'm not ready to go back into crochet projects yet. I'm still a bit jet lagged. Well, that was a bit of a mistake. I started the project on Saturday. I was still jet lagged. So I'm not reading properly. My head can't concentrate. I've got a headache. And I ragged and frogged this project 5 times just to get past the first row because my head wasn't working. Then I put everything down and said, okay, Sunday I will try again. And me and Pod started watching a film. I said, okay, today I'm going to do it. I changed my technique. And from Sunday to Wednesday, I'd done this much. So I have done a gauge swatch. I have blocked it. So this is the top so far. It looks very, very short to me. But I believe once I block this out. See, it doesn't look so bad now, but it will block out. This will block out quite a lot. And it just flew off the needles. I have never knitted a sweater that went so quick. And now I can see why so many people make this sweater. I did make a teeny tiny boo-boo. I misplaced the stitches on one row, so I don't get that cross at the top on the top layer. But I got that far down before I realized that I don't mind. And the yarn is very halo-y, so to be honest, you can't really notice it as much as you would if I was using a single block toned yarn. And so far I've done the body, and I just need to add on sleeves, and I'm going to add on 3/4 length sleeves like my crochet cardigan, as that is the best length for me. I'm always pushing up my sleeves I love, but they drive me crazy. I end up pushing them up. I'm doing the washing, I'm cooking. 3/4 length is just right for me. Cap sleeves are too short, so I just need to add on the sleeves. But I think before I do, I'm going to block this to be 100% sure. And the pattern just flew off my needles. Literally within 3 days, I'd made this whole top. And I'm not the quickest knitter. I'm very quick with crochet, but knitting is all still very new. And when I was creating this, I had to work with 2 yarns because this is indie dyed yarn, so one skein can be a slightly different tone to a different one. So I made that mistake with my previous sweater, and one sleeve is a completely different tone to the other sleeve. So I decided this time I'm going to make sure I will do I think it's called catching the yarn. So I had to learn how to catch the yarn and not twist, and there's lots of cables. Knitting is very different from crochet, but overall it just flew off the needles. So hopefully in the next update you're going to see this whole top finished. So I'm really pleased with it so far. I have dropped a stitch somewhere, I will catch it. But this yarn is gorgeous. So I'm going to put a link down below to Lotti's shop. She does do beautiful collections of yarns. I would highly recommend them. I'm considering next year of actually buying about 10 skeins of yarn from her to create a crochet blanket, because the yarn is just absolutely gorgeous. So watch this space. Let's see how much space is in the next luggage that I bring back. So that was all my haul from York and from Yorkshire Yarn Festival. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I'm going to throw in some videos now of the whole festival. I don't think I got many videos. I don't think I got that many videos because I was just enjoying the moment. So I'm going to love you and leave you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. It does help me with my analytics. It encourages me to make more videos. And I will see you in the next video, which is going to be the free Christmas pattern. Bye.